In the cracked sidewalk of a city that never seemed to sleep, Mia Reynolds sat huddled beneath the frayed edges of a threadbare blanket, clutching her swollen belly as if it were the only thing tethering her to hope. The cold bit through her clothes, but the chill that gnawed at her heart was far sharper. The hum of traffic and distant sirens blended into a relentless soundtrack of loneliness, a stark contrast to the life growing quietly inside her. Around her, the city pulsed with indifference. Faces blurred by their own worries, footsteps hurried past without a glance. Mia was invisible, a ghost among millions. She shifted slightly, careful not to wake the ache that had settled deep in her lower back. The weight of her unborn child was both a blessing and a burden. 8 months pregnant, with no stable place to call home, the future was a jagged cliff edge she was afraid to look over. Her fingers traced the faint stretch marks blooming across her skin, each one a silent story of hardship and survival. Nights were the hardest, when the cold seeped through every layer and the ache of hunger joined the chorus of despair. Before we continue, make sure to like and subscribe to never miss a new video. And tell me, where are you watching this video from? I love seeing all different people come together for these stories. Mia's thoughts drifted back to the tiny apartment she once shared with her boyfriend. A place filled with laughter and dreams that now seemed impossibly distant. The argument that shattered it all played on repeat in her mind. The accusations, the slammed doors, the finality of his absence. She had begged him to stay, to be there for their child, but he had walked away, leaving her alone in a world that suddenly felt too vast and too cruel. Shelters had been a revolving door of uncertainty. Some offered warmth, but little kindness. Others were overcrowded, filled with the restless energy of people caught in the same relentless struggle. Each night, Mia faced the fear of being turned away, of having nowhere to sleep except the hard pavement or the unforgiving steps of abandoned buildings. The city's shadows had become her reluctant companions, whispering doubts and fears she fought to silence. Yet, despite the bleakness, a fragile thread of hope clung to her heart. She dreamed of holding her baby in a safe place, of hearing a lullaby instead of the cacophony of the streets. That hope was a secret flame she guarded fiercely, even when exhaustion threatened to snuff it out. One chilly afternoon, as the gray sky threatened rain, Mia found herself shuffling toward the local community center, a place she had avoided until now, wary of judgment and rejection. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of coffee and cleaning supplies, and the chatter of volunteers and visitors created a hum of cautious optimism. A social worker named Elise noticed Mia lingering near the entrance, her eyes reflecting a mixture of concern and compassion. "Hey there," Elise said gently, kneeling to meet Mia's gaze. "Are you looking for help?" Mia hesitated, the weight of pride and fear battling within her, but something in Elise's warm smile made her nod. I don't have anywhere to go, and my baby's coming soon." Elise's expression softened further. "You're not alone in this. We have a program, a ranch actually, that offers temporary housing for women in situations like yours. It's quiet, safe, and supportive. Would you be interested in learning more?" The idea seemed almost too good to be true. A place far from the noise and cold, where she could find rest before her baby arrived. Mia's heart fluttered with cautious hope. She nodded again, swallowing the lump in her throat. Over the next few days, Elise helped Mia prepare for the journey ahead. She talked about the ranch's expansive fields, the small cabins nestled among the trees, and the community of women who had found solace there. Mia listened, the image of that peaceful place growing brighter in her mind with each passing word. But fear lingered in the shadows. Leaving the city meant stepping into the unknown, away from everything she had ever known, even if that everything had been harsh and unforgiving. Memories of past betrayals and disappointments whispered warnings. Yet the promise of safety and support pulled her forward. On the morning of her departure, Mia stood on the street corner, a single duffel bag slung over her shoulder. The city's gray skyline stretched above her, a backdrop to the tangled emotions swirling inside. As a bus rumbled to a stop nearby, she took a deep breath, steadying herself. The road ahead was uncertain, but for the first time in months, she felt a flicker of something she hadn't dared to feel in a long time. Hope. With a final glance at the streets that had been both prison and battlefield, Mia stepped onto the bus, her hand resting protectively on her belly. The engine's roar was a distant promise, carrying her away from the cold indifference of the city toward a place where healing might begin. As the bus pulled away, the fog of despair that had clouded her mind began to lift ever so slightly, replaced by the fragile light of possibility. The bus rolled steadily away from the city's jagged skyline, its wheels humming a steady rhythm against the asphalt as Mia pressed her forehead against the cool window. Outside, the urban sprawl began to thin, the towering buildings giving way to stretches of open fields and distant hills that shimmered under a pale, overcast sky. The landscape was unfamiliar, yet there was something quietly hopeful in its vastness, a promise of space to breathe, to heal, to start anew. Mia's hands rested lightly on her belly, feeling the gentle movements that reminded her of the life growing within. The child was a tether to the future, an anchor in the storm of her past. The days since Elise had offered. The chance to leave had been a whirlwind of preparation and nerves. Packing had been a slow, deliberate process. Folding clothes that still carried the scent of street dust, gathering the few personal items she treasured, and clutching a worn photograph of her own mother, who had long since disappeared from her life. As the bus wove through the countryside, Mia's mind drifted back to the nights spent on unforgiving sidewalks and in overcrowded shelters. She remembered the cold seeping into her bones, the stares of strangers who saw not a soon-to-be mother, but a problem to be overlooked. She recalled the ache of loneliness, the sting of rejection, the desperate search for a place where she could belong. Yet, beneath those memories, a fragile thread of hope had begun to weave through her thoughts, brightening with each mile closer to the ranch. Elise's words echoed softly. This was a place dedicated to women like her, a sanctuary where they could find both shelter and support. Mia clung to that promise, imagining a quiet cabin nestled among trees, a soft bed to rest her weary body, and kind faces ready to help. The thought was almost surreal, a stark contrast to the harshness she had known. She wondered what the ranch would look like, what kind of people she would meet, and whether she could find the strength to trust again. The bus came to a slow stop at a small station near a dusty road flanked by tall pines. Mia gathered her bag, her legs trembling slightly as she stepped onto the gravel, the crisp air filling her lungs with a freshness she hadn't breathed in months. A woman with a warm smile and gentle eyes waited nearby, holding a sign that read, "Safe Haven Ranch." She introduced herself as Grace, one of the ranch's caretakers, and immediately put Mia at ease with her calm demeanor. Grace led Mia along a winding path, lined with wildflowers and tall grasses, the sounds of birdsong replacing the distant hum of city life. The ranch spread out before her, a patchwork of open fields, clusters of cabins, and a central lodge that exuded warmth and welcome. It was quieter here, the pace slower, as if the land itself breathed a sigh of relief. Mia's heart fluttered with a mixture of apprehension and curiosity as they approached a modest cabin shaded by towering oaks. Inside, the cabin felt surprisingly warm despite its simple furnishings. A small wood stove crackled softly in the corner, casting flickering shadows on the walls. The air smelled faintly of pine and fresh linens. Grace showed Mia to a bed draped with a patchwork quilt, its colors faded but comforting. On a nearby table, a basket held essentials, blankets, toiletries, and a few books. It was a space meant for healing, a sanctuary from the chaos that had defined Mia's life for so long. Over the next days, Mia began to settle into the rhythm of the ranch. Mornings were greeted with the soft light filtering through the trees and the scent of fresh coffee and baked bread from the lodge. She attended prenatal check-ins with a gentle nurse named Clara, who spoke with kindness and patience, reminding Mia of the care she deserved. The ranch offered more than shelter. It was a community, a gathering of women who had faced their own battles and now stood together in quiet strength. Mia met others whose stories echoed her own, women who had lost homes, relationships, and certainty, yet carried within them a fierce determination to rebuild. They shared meals, laughter, and tears, creating bonds forged in shared experience. Group sessions provided a space to voice fears and hopes, to learn coping skills and parenting techniques, and to find solace in the understanding eyes of others who truly knew the journey. Despite the peace, there were moments when doubt crept in. The fear that this refuge was temporary, that the world outside would one day reclaim her. On such evenings, Mia would sit by the window, watching stars emerge in the vast sky, whispering quiet prayers for strength. The child inside her stirred, and she imagined the life they would build together, grounded in safety and love rather than fear and uncertainty. One afternoon, Grace invited Mia to explore the ranch grounds, encouraging her to take slow walks to reconnect with nature. Mia hesitated at first, her body still tender and her steps cautious. But as she wandered through meadows dotted with wildflowers and along shaded trails lined with ancient trees, a sense of calm settled over her. The soft rustle of leaves and the gentle murmur of a nearby stream became a balm for her restless mind. Mia found herself drawn to a small garden where other residents tended rows of vegetables and herbs. The act of planting seeds, nurturing growth, and witnessing the earth's quiet miracles stirred something deep within her. A reminder that healing, like the seasons, was a process. She began to see that her life too could be cultivated with patience and care. Throughout her days at the ranch, Mia's body grew stronger even as her belly swelled with new life. The physical aches of pregnancy were met with the emotional support she had long been denied. She learned to ask for help, to accept kindness, and to believe in the possibility of a future shaped by more than survival. Each connection, each small victory, chipped away at the walls she had built around herself. Yet beneath the surface of this newfound hope, Mia remained vigilant. She knew that the path ahead would not be without challenges. The scars of her past still whispered warnings, and the uncertainty of what awaited beyond the ranch's borders loomed. But for now, in this quiet sanctuary surrounded by trees and the gentle hum of community, she allowed herself to dream. The days stretched into weeks, and Mia's heart began to open to the idea that she might not be alone after all. The ranch was not just a shelter. It was a place where broken pieces could be mended, where courage could be found in shared stories, and where a young woman on the brink of motherhood could find the strength to face the uncertain horizon with hope. The morning sun filtered softly through the cabin's small window, casting a warm glow on the simple quilt that covered Mia's bed. She stirred beneath the covers, the gentle pressure of her baby shifting inside her, a steady reminder of both vulnerability and strength. Today marked the beginning of a new chapter, a journey to the heart of the ranch she had called sanctuary for weeks, but still only partially understood. Grace had arranged for Mia to take a slow tour of the property, a chance to see beyond the cabin walls and meet others who called the ranch home. As Mia stepped outside, the crisp air greeted her like an old friend, carrying the scent of pine and damp earth. The wide-open field stretched before her, dotted with wildflowers swaying in the morning breeze. It was a landscape both vast and intimate, a place where life seemed to pulse quietly beneath the surface. Walking beside Grace, Mia felt a mixture of anticipation and apprehension. Though she had found comfort within the ranch's embrace, the transition from isolation to community was still new terrain. Each step was a tentative exploration, not just of the land, but of her own capacity to trust and belong. As they made their way down a narrow dirt path, the sounds of the ranch began to filter in. Laughter from a group gathered near the garden, the soft clatter of tools, and the distant lowing of cows. Mia's eyes caught sight of other women, moving with purpose and ease, tending to tasks that ranged from planting seedlings to preparing meals. There was a quiet dignity in their movements, a shared resilience born of hardship and healing. Grace paused near a cluster of cabins, nodding toward a small group seated around a picnic table. "That's the circle where we share stories and support," she explained. "Everyone here has a story, and we listen because healing happens when you're heard." Mia watched as a woman with silver-streaked hair spoke softly, her hands gesturing with gentle conviction. Around her, others nodded in understanding, some with tears glistening in their eyes. The scene stirred something deep within Mia, a longing to be part of something larger than herself, to find strength in shared experience rather than solitude. As they continued, Grace introduced Mia to some of the ranch's caretakers, people who had dedicated their lives to nurturing this haven. Clara, the nurse who had checked Mia's prenatal health, smiled warmly and squeezed her hand reassuringly. A man named Paul, who managed the livestock, greeted her with a nod and a knowing smile. Each encounter added layers to Mia's understanding of the community's fabric, woven from compassion and commitment. The path led them past a small pond. Its surface mirrored the sky in perfect stillness. Mia paused, the reflection of the clouds and trees mingling with her own image. Fragile, yet grounded. She thought of the journey that had brought her here, the tangled web of loss and hope that defined her life. In this quiet moment, she allowed herself to breathe deeply, to feel the weight of uncertainty lessen, even if only for a while. Grace spoke softly. "The ranch is more than a place. It's a chance to rebuild, to find yourself again, piece by piece." Mia nodded, the truth of those words settling in her bones. She recalled the endless nights on cold streets, the fear of the unknown, the sting of rejection. Here, surrounded by nature and kindness, the edges of those memories felt less sharp, softened by the promise of renewal. Later, Mia was invited to join a small group working in the vegetable garden. Kneeling in the rich soil, she felt the earth cool and yielding beneath her fingers, a tactile connection to growth and life. The act of planting, of sowing seeds that would someday nourish, was both grounding and symbolic. Each seed was a quiet promise, much like the one she held within her. As the afternoon sun climbed higher, the ranch settled into a gentle rhythm. Mia found herself sharing stories with other women, their voices weaving a tapestry of pain and perseverance. There was Regina, who spoke of rebuilding her life after years of addiction, and Lena, who had escaped an abusive relationship. Their stories were raw and real, yet threaded with hope, the kind that comes from surviving and choosing to move forward. Mia's own voice trembled as she spoke of the city streets, the loneliness, the fear of bringing a child into a world so uncertain. But as she spoke, she felt the weight lift slightly, carried away by the understanding nods and gentle words of encouragement. The ranch was becoming more than a refuge. It was a place where her story mattered. That evening, as the sky blushed with the last light of day, Mia sat on the porch of her cabin, watching fireflies flicker among the trees. The quiet was profound, a stark contrast to the chaos she had left behind. The ranch's vastness stretched out before her, a landscape of possibility and healing. Her thoughts drifted to the future, the birth of her child, the life they might build here, the strength she was beginning to find within herself. The road had been long and uncertain, but with each step on this new path, Mia felt the fragile threads of hope weave stronger, binding her to a future she dared to imagine. She closed her eyes, the cool night air whispering promises of renewal. The journey was just beginning, but for the first time in a long time, Mia felt something she hadn't in years, a quiet certainty that she would not walk it alone. Mia's first morning in the cabin was wrapped in a gentle quiet that felt almost foreign after the relentless noise of city life. She woke to the soft rustling of leaves outside the window and the distant call of birds greeting the dawn. The air inside was cool but inviting, carrying the faint scent of pine and fresh linens. Slowly, she stretched, feeling the familiar weight of her belly settle against the bed beneath her. The cabin was modest. Weathered wood walls, a small stove nestled in one corner, and a rough-hewn table by the window where sunlight spilled in, warming the space. It was a far cry from the cramped, cold shelter she'd left behind. Yet there was an undeniable sense of home in its simplicity. Mia ran her hand over the quilt that covered the bed, its patchwork squares faded but soft, each stitch a testament to care and history. She rose carefully, mindful of the tenderness in her body, and moved toward the small kitchen nook. A kettle sat atop the stove, and beside it, a basket held fresh bread, fruit, and a jar of honey. A note lay on the table, written in flowing script. "Welcome, Mia. We're glad you're here. If you need anything, just ask. Grace." The words warmed her more than the morning sun. As the day unfolded, Mia explored the cabin more fully. Drawers held neatly folded linens and basic supplies, while shelves displayed a small collection of books, some worn, others new. A window seat looked out onto the forest beyond, where sunlight danced through leaves and shadows shifted with the breeze. The cabin felt larger than its modest size suggested, as if it held space not only for her body, but for the restless hopes and fears she carried. Later, Grace returned, carrying a basket of fresh vegetables and a thermos of herbal tea. She smiled warmly, setting the items on the table. "I thought you might like a little something to start," she said softly. "There's plenty here if you want to cook, but don't worry if you're not up to it yet." Mia nodded gratefully, the kindness a balm to her weary spirit. Grace's presence was steady, a quiet reassurance that she was not alone. They talked briefly about the ranch, its mission, and the community it fostered. Women like Mia who had faced hardship and were now finding refuge. Grace mentioned the prenatal care available, the counseling sessions, and the support groups that met regularly. It was more than shelter. It was a place of healing. As evening approached, Mia settled into the window seat with a book from the small shelf. a collection of poems about nature and resilience. She sipped the warm tea, feeling the first real moments of peace in months. The cabin seemed to breathe with her, alive with quiet energy and the promise of renewal. That night, as she lay in bed, Mia listened to the soft crackle of the wood stove and the distant chorus of nocturnal creatures. The walls held no judgment, no harsh words, only the gentle embrace of solitude and safety. She traced her fingers over the quilt, remembering the hands that had sewn it, the stories woven into its fabric. It was a tangible link to a lineage of care, a reminder that even in darkness, there was light. Over the next few days, Mia settled into a gentle routine. She woke with the sun, took slow walks along shaded paths, and spent quiet afternoons resting or reading. The caretakers checked in regularly, offering support without pressure, allowing her to find her own pace. The cabins around hers echoed with laughter and conversation, a soft hum of life that felt both comforting and new. One afternoon, Mia discovered a small workshop space where women gathered to share crafts and stories. She watched as others painted, knitted, and wrote, each creating something that reflected their journey. Though hesitant at first, Mia felt a stirring within, a desire to contribute, to express the complex emotions swirling inside her. She picked up a pencil and began to sketch, the act of creation soothing the restless parts of her soul. The ranch itself revealed its unique character with each passing day. Mia learned that the land was more than a backdrop. It was an active participant in healing. A nearby spring provided fresh water, its clear flow a symbol of renewal. Trails wound through ancient trees, inviting reflection and discovery. The caretakers spoke of the importance of respecting the earth, of offerings made to honor the land's generosity. Mia found herself drawn to a small clearing where wildflowers bloomed in abundance. She sat among them one afternoon, feeling the sun warm her skin and the breeze whisper through the grass. It was here that she allowed herself to dream aloud, to imagine a life where her child could grow surrounded by safety and love, where fear did not dictate their days. As the days grew warmer, the community at the ranch deepened. Mia met women who shared their stories of struggle and strength, each narrative a thread in the tapestry of healing. They spoke of past pain and future hopes, of the challenges of motherhood and the power of support. Through these connections, Mia felt the walls she had built begin to crumble, replaced by trust and belonging. One evening, as twilight settled over the ranch, Mia attended a gathering around a fire pit. The flames flickered against the darkening sky, casting dancing shadows on faces illuminated by both firelight and newfound courage. Stories were shared, songs sung softly, and the weight of loneliness lifted in the warmth of community. Mia listened as others spoke of transformation, their journeys from despair to hope. When it was her turn, she hesitated, then shared a fragment of her own story. The city streets, the fear, the longing for safety. Her voice wavered but grew steadier with each word. The group responded with gentle smiles and nods, their silent support a balm. That night, returning to her cabin, Mia felt a quiet strength blooming within. The ranch was no longer just a place. It was becoming a home, a sanctuary where she could heal, prepare for motherhood, and envision a future shaped by possibility rather than fear. The path ahead remained uncertain, but for the first time in a long time, Mia walked it, with a steady heart and a spark of hope lighting the way. The ranch awoke each morning with a quiet, steady rhythm, a gentle pulse that seemed to cradle its inhabitants in a world removed from the turmoil they had left behind. For Mia, the days unfolded with a new sense of purpose as she began to understand that this place was more than just a refuge. It was a community bound by shared struggles and the determination to rise above them. One morning, Grace invited Mia to join a gathering in the main lodge, a sunlit room filled with the hum of conversation and the scent of brewed coffee. Women sat in loose circles, their faces a tapestry of stories etched in smiles and lines of hardship. It was here that Mia learned the true heart of the ranch, a collective dedicated to supporting vulnerable women and their children, offering more than shelter, a space to heal, grow, and reclaim their lives. Elise, the social worker who had first reached out to Mia, spoke warmly as she introduced the programs available. Prenatal care was a cornerstone, with Clara, the gentle nurse who attended to Mia, overseeing regular checkups and education tailored to expectant mothers. Counseling sessions provided a sanctuary for processing trauma and building emotional resilience. Parenting classes offered tools and confidence for the challenges ahead. Mia listened intently, absorbing the information like a parched earth drinking in rain. The ranch's mission was clear: to empower women through holistic care that addressed body, mind, and spirit. It was a stark contrast to the fragmented support she had encountered in the city, where help often came with strings attached or was simply out of reach. As days turned into weeks, Mia began attending these programs, each session peeling back layers of fear and isolation. In prenatal classes, she learned about nutrition, breathing techniques, and the signs of labor. The knowledge was empowering, transforming abstract anxieties into actionable understanding. Clara's reassuring presence made every appointment a moment of connection and care. Counseling sessions became a lifeline. In a cozy room lined with soft cushions and warm light, Mia found space to voice the tangled emotions she had carried for so long: anger, grief, hope, and fear. The group, led by a compassionate therapist named June, fostered a sense of solidarity. Stories were shared without judgment, and healing began in the quiet acknowledgement of pain. Parenting classes introduced Mia to other soon-to-be mothers, their faces a mixture of excitement and apprehension. Together, they explored the realities of motherhood, the joys and struggles, the sleepless nights and tender moments. The shared experience forged bonds that transcended their individual hardships, weaving a network of support that extended beyond the ranch's borders. Outside the structured programs, the ranch's daily life echoed with small acts of kindness and cooperation. Mia witnessed women helping one another with chores, sharing meals, and offering comfort during difficult moments. The sense of community was palpable, a living testament to the power of connection in the face of adversity. Mia herself found moments where she could contribute, whether by preparing simple meals or assisting with gardening tasks. The act of giving, even in small ways, nurtured her spirit and reinforced her growing sense of agency. She realized that healing was not only about receiving, but also about participating in a shared journey toward renewal. One afternoon, as the sun cast dappled light through the trees, Mia joined a group walk led by Grace. The women moved slowly along a shaded trail, their footsteps soft against the earth. Grace spoke gently about the land's importance, not just as a backdrop, but as a living, breathing entity deserving respect and care. She explained the tradition of making offerings, small gestures of gratitude to honor the earth's generosity. Mia knelt beside a patch of wildflowers, placing a handful of herbs at their base as a quiet offering. The act felt sacred, a tangible expression of the gratitude swelling within her. It connected her to something larger, a lineage of women who had walked this path before her, finding strength in the land and each other. As the weeks unfolded, Mia's confidence grew alongside her belly. She began to envision life beyond the ranch, a future where she could nurture her child in a safe, loving environment. The knowledge, support, and community she had found here were building blocks for a new beginning, a foundation sturdy enough to withstand the uncertainties ahead. Yet, despite the progress, shadows lingered. Mia grappled with moments of doubt, old fears that whispered of failure and loss. But each time, the ranch's embrace steadied her, its rhythms reminding her that healing was a process, not a destination. One evening, as twilight settled over the fields, Mia sat by the lodge's fire pit with other women, sharing stories and laughter. The flames flickered against the darkening sky, illuminating faces etched with resilience and hope. In that circle, Mia felt the full weight of the journey she had undertaken, the pain, the courage, and the promise of transformation. She knew the path ahead would hold challenges. But here, surrounded by strength and compassion, Mia found the resolve to face them. The ranch was no longer just a place of refuge. It was a beacon of possibility, a testament to the power of community in rewriting one's story. The mornings at the ranch began to hum with a gentle energy that rippled through the cabins and fields like a rising tide. Mia found herself waking earlier, her body growing stronger even as her belly swelled with the life she was carrying. Each day brought new rhythms, soft footsteps on wooden floors, the scent of brewing coffee mingling with fresh earth, the murmur of voices sharing stories and laughter. It was a world away from the isolation and fear that had shadowed her life for so long. As Mia settled into this new routine, she discovered the profound strength found in connection. The bonds she formed with the other women became a lifeline, threads weaving her into a tapestry of shared experience and mutual support. They gathered in the mornings for breakfast in the lodge, where conversations flowed easily, from whispered worries about impending motherhood to bursts of laughter over small triumphs. There was no pretense here, only honesty and acceptance. Mia's days were filled with activities designed to nurture both body and spirit. She joined group walks through the surrounding woods, the dense canopy filtering sunlight into delicate patterns on the forest floor. The sound of leaves crunching underfoot and birdsong created a soothing soundtrack, grounding her in the present. During these walks, conversations ranged from practical concerns to dreams for the future, each voice adding depth and color to the shared narrative. In the afternoons, Mia participated in workshops led by ranch staff and visiting experts. From nutrition classes to stress management techniques, each session offered tools to empower and heal. Mia found solace in yoga classes, where gentle stretches and mindful breathing helped ease the physical discomforts of pregnancy while calming her restless mind. The quiet moments of meditation became a sanctuary, a place where fears could be acknowledged and gently released. The ranch's community work extended beyond structured programs. Mia often helped with tending the vegetable garden, her hands sinking into the rich soil as she planted seeds, watered rows of green, and harvested ripe tomatoes and herbs. The act of nurturing plants mirrored her own journey toward healing, a tangible reminder that growth required patience and care. These shared tasks fostered camaraderie as women exchanged tips, stories, and encouragement while working side by side. Evenings brought their own rhythms. Around a communal table, meals were shared. A mix of hearty stews, fresh salads, and warm bread baked in the ranch's modest kitchen. Mia found comfort not only in the food, but in the ritual of gathering, the simple act of breaking bread together, forging connections that transcended words. After dinner, small groups often lingered by the fire pit, where stories and songs flowed freely under the stars. Through these shared experiences, Mia began to shed the weight of isolation that had defined much of her life. The ranch was teaching her that vulnerability was not weakness, but a bridge to strength. That healing was often found in the presence of others who understood. She learned to lean on the support offered, to ask for help without shame, and to offer her own kindness in return. Yet, the journey was not without its challenges. Mia grappled with moments of doubt and fear. Nights when uncertainty gnawed at her resolve, when memories of past pain resurfaced unbidden. In these times, the community's embrace proved vital. A reassuring hand on her shoulder, a whispered word of encouragement, or simply the shared silence of understanding provided the strength to carry on. One afternoon, Mia joined a group session focused on preparing for motherhood. The women gathered in a sunlit room, cushions scattered across the floor, the air thick with anticipation and nerves. Topics ranged from breastfeeding and newborn care to managing the emotional upheaval that often accompanies this profound life change. Mia listened closely, absorbing the knowledge and feeling a quiet reassurance growing within her. The group's facilitator, June, encouraged open dialogue, inviting each woman to share her hopes and fears. When it was Mia's turn, she spoke of the loneliness she had faced, the fear of failing her child, and the fragile hope that this new life might bring a second chance. Her words were met with gentle nods and empathetic smiles, a silent chorus of solidarity. Outside the classroom, Mia found moments of joy in unexpected places. A simple walk to the spring became a ritual, a chance to pause, reflect, and connect with the land that had become a silent companion on her journey. She marveled at the way the water sparkled in the sunlight, how the coolness soothed her skin, and the steady flow mirrored the rhythms of life itself. As the weeks passed, Mia's confidence grew alongside the life she carried. She began to envision the future with a clarity that had once seemed impossible. A home filled with love, a child nurtured in safety, and a life rebuilt on the foundation of community and resilience. The ranch had become more than a refuge. It was a place where hope was cultivated, where strength was nurtured, and where the seeds of new beginnings took root. In the quiet moments before sleep, Mia often reflected on the transformation unfolding within her. The journey had been arduous, marked by pain and uncertainty, but it had also been a testament to the power of healing and connection. Surrounded by women who had become sisters, supported by caretakers who embodied compassion, and embraced by the land itself, Mia felt herself becoming whole again. The ranch was teaching her that she was not defined by her past, but by the courage to face each day anew. And as she drifted to sleep, the soft rustle of leaves outside her window whispered promises of tomorrow. A tomorrow filled with possibility, strength, and the unwavering hope of a mother's love. The ranch's serene rhythm was disrupted one morning by hushed conversations and hurried footsteps. Mia noticed the subtle changes, the caretakers exchanging worried glances, the absence of the usual light-hearted chatter around the lodge. Whispered words carried a weight that settled uneasily in her chest. Financial difficulties threatened the very place that had become a sanctuary for so many. Grace gathered the women in the main hall, her voice steady but tinged with concern. "The ranch is facing some challenges," she explained, "and we may need to make difficult decisions to ensure it can continue to serve those who depend on it." The news rippled through the room, stirring fear and uncertainty. For Mia, the thought of losing this haven was almost unbearable. Despite the looming crisis, the community's resolve hardened. Mia felt a surge of determination rising within her, a fierce desire to protect the fragile stability they had built. She realized that healing was not just about receiving help, but also about standing up for the sanctuary that nurtured them all. Drawing on the strength she had found at the ranch, Mia began volunteering in new ways. She helped organize fundraising efforts, reaching out to local businesses and community members. Phone calls, letters, and meetings filled her days, each interaction a small step toward securing a future for the ranch. Though the work was daunting, it gave her purpose and a sense of agency. At the same time, Mia confronted her own inner fears about motherhood and the uncertainties ahead. The approaching birth stirred a mix of excitement and anxiety. Counseling sessions became a vital space where she could voice these doubts and receive support. June, the therapist, encouraged her to acknowledge her feelings without judgment and to lean on the community when the weight felt too heavy. One afternoon, Mia sat with Clara, discussing birth plans and pain management options. The conversations were honest and detailed, dispelling myths and building confidence. Clara's calm presence and clear explanations helped Mia envision the birth not as a source of fear, but as a powerful moment of transformation. As the ranch rallied to meet its financial challenges, the women found strength in each other like never before. Shared meals took on new significance, and group activities became opportunities to foster solidarity. Mia noticed that through adversity, the community's bonds deepened, their collective spirit shining brighter. Yet, the stress of the situation sometimes seeped into Mia's moments of quiet. She found herself grappling with sleepless nights and restless days, the shadows of doubt threatening to overwhelm the hope she had nurtured. In these times, she turned to the natural world surrounding the ranch, the whispering trees, the flowing streams, for solace. One evening, under a sky thick with stars, Mia walked alone along a familiar trail. The cool air brushed against her skin, and the steady rhythm of her breath grounded her. She paused to place a small offering of wildflowers at the base of an ancient oak, a gesture of gratitude and plea for strength. The land, she felt, held the wisdom and resilience she needed to face the challenges ahead. Back at the ranch, preparations for the birth intensified. Mia attended workshops on newborn care, breastfeeding, and postpartum wellness. The practical knowledge was empowering, but it was the emotional support from the women around her that truly fortified her spirit. They shared stories of their own births, some joyous, others difficult, but all marked by the strength of motherhood. As the days grew closer to her due date, Mia felt a complex blend of readiness and fear. She knew the journey would demand every ounce of courage she possessed, but she also knew she would not face it alone. The ranch, with its community of women and caretakers, had become her anchor. One morning, as a storm brewed on the horizon, Mia felt the first signs of labor. The urgency of the moment swept away lingering doubts, replaced by a fierce focus on the life about to enter the world. She rang the silver bell at the cabin's entrance, a signal that summoned Margaret, the midwife who had served generations of women at the ranch. Margaret arrived swiftly, her presence calm and reassuring. With practiced hands and a gentle voice, she guided Mia through the early stages of labor. The cabin, once quiet and still, filled with the rhythms of birth. The steady breath, the whispered encouragements, the primal strength of a woman bringing life into the world. Throughout the labor, Mia felt the presence of the community, both tangible and spiritual. The stories shared around fires, the lessons learned in workshops, the shared struggles and triumphs, all converged in this moment. She drew on the strength of the women who had come before her, their resilience flowing through her veins. Hours passed in a blur of pain and determination. When the first cries of her baby filled the cabin, A profound sense of awe and relief washed over Mia. She held her daughter close, tears mingling with sweat, the weight of the journey transforming into boundless love. In the days that followed, the ranch embraced its newest member. The community rallied around Mia and her baby, offering support, guidance, and celebration. The birth was not just an end, but a beginning, a testament to the power of resilience, hope, and shared strength. Though the challenges facing the ranch remained, Mia's experience reinforced her commitment to the community. She understood now more than ever that healing was a collective journey, one that demanded courage, compassion, and the unwavering belief in the possibility of new beginnings. The first cries of Mia's daughter echoed softly through the cabin, mingling with the crackling fire and the steady rhythm of Margaret's calm instructions. Outside, the storm rumbled gently, rain tapping against the window panes like a lullaby for new beginnings. Mia cradled her newborn close, feeling the fragile warmth and the steady pulse of life she had fought so hard to bring into the world. In those initial hours, the cabin transformed from a quiet shelter into a sanctuary, a sacred space where pain and hope intertwined. Margaret tended to both mother and child with practiced ease, her presence a steady anchor amid the whirlwind of emotions. Mia's breath came in shallow gasps, but beneath the exhaustion, a fierce joy blossomed, unspoken and profound. The women of the ranch gathered softly outside, their footsteps muffled by the rain-soaked earth. Though distant, their presence was felt, a protective circle woven from shared strength and unwavering support. Mia knew that she was not alone. The community that had nurtured her through months of uncertainty now embraced her in this intimate moment of transformation. As dawn broke, painting the sky in soft hues of pink and gold, Mia rested with her daughter, nestled against her chest. The baby's tiny fingers curled instinctively around Mia's hand, anchoring her to the promise of tomorrow. In the quiet hours, she reflected on the journey, on the streets where fear had once reigned, the uncertain path to the ranch, and the bonds forged in hardship and hope. Margaret offered gentle guidance on breastfeeding and newborn care, her voice a soothing thread weaving confidence into Mia's growing maternal instincts. The lessons imparted were as much about trust and patience as they were about practical skill. Mia absorbed each word, determined to give her child the love and security that had long eluded her own life. Over the following days, support flowed freely from the ranch's community. Caretakers brought nourishing meals, neighbors offered quiet companionship, and the shared knowledge of motherhood was exchanged in whispered conversations and soft smiles. The ranch, once a backdrop to Mia's healing, now became the foundation of her new life. Mia found strength in the rhythms of caregiving, the gentle rocking, the soothing lullabies, the tender moments of eye contact that spoke volumes without words. Each day was a lesson in resilience, a testament to the power of nurture and the unbreakable bond between mother and child. Amid the joy, practical concerns surfaced. Mia navigated the challenges of postpartum recovery, sleepless nights, and the delicate balance of caring for both herself and her daughter. The ranch's programs offered continued support, from health checkups to counseling sessions that addressed the complex emotions of new motherhood. In group meetings, Mia heard stories that mirrored her own. Women sharing triumphs and struggles, weaving a tapestry of shared experience that both comforted and inspired. The community's collective journey was a source of strength, a reminder that healing was ongoing and that no one bore its burdens alone. As weeks passed, Mia's confidence blossomed alongside her daughter's growth. She began to envision a future beyond the ranch, a life shaped by the lessons learned and the love received. The uncertainty that had once loomed large was tempered by the knowledge that she had the tools and support to face whatever lay ahead. One afternoon, as sunlight filtered through the trees, Mia took her daughter for a slow walk along a familiar path. The Satan baby's soft coos mingled with the rustling leaves and distant bird calls, a harmony of new life and enduring nature. Mia breathed deeply, savoring the moment, a quiet affirmation of survival and hope. Back at the ranch, preparations for the future unfolded with gentle urgency. Mia explored options for housing and employment, guided by staff who helped map out steps toward independence. Though the road remained uncertain, the foundation laid by the ranch's support offered a beacon of possibility. In the evenings, Mia journaled her experiences, capturing the raw emotions and quiet victories of motherhood. The act of writing became a refuge, a way to process the complex tapestry of her journey and to honor the resilience that had carried her through. As autumn deepened around the ranch, the landscape transformed, a reflection of the cycles of life and renewal that had come to define Mia's path. The golden leaves whispered of change and continuity, of endings that were beginnings in disguise. In the embrace of the community and the nurturing land, Mia found not only healing, but purpose. Each day with her daughter was a testament to the power of love and the promise of new beginnings, an unfolding story written in courage, connection, and hope. Mia sat quietly in the circle of women gathered beneath the towering oaks, the autumn leaves crunching softly beneath their feet. The baby nestled against her chest stirred gently, its warmth a steady comfort against the cool breeze. Around her, familiar faces, some new, some worn by time and struggle, shared stories and support, their voices weaving a tapestry of shared resilience. This circle was more than a gathering. It was a lifeline, a testament to the healing that had unfolded within the ranch's embrace. In the months since her daughter's birth, Mia had stepped into the role of mother with both trepidation and determination. The days were filled with the ceaseless demands of care, feeding, soothing, sleepless nights, but also moments of profound connection and joy. The ranch's continued support was a steady presence, offering guidance, encouragement, and practical help as Mia navigated the complexities of new motherhood. Yet, motherhood was only one part of the new life Mia was forging. As her daughter grew stronger, so too did Mia's desire to reclaim her own sense of purpose and independence. The ranch provided opportunities for education and skill building, and Mia eagerly embraced them. She enrolled in a course on childcare, finding both knowledge and confidence in her expanding abilities. Beyond the classroom, Mia became an active member of the ranch community. She volunteered to welcome new residents, sharing her story and offering the compassion she had once longed to receive. Her presence became a beacon of hope for women still wrestling with fear and uncertainty, a living proof of transformation born from struggle. The path to healing was not without its challenges. Memories of past hardships occasionally surfaced, ghosts in the quiet moments that tested her resolve. But rather than retreat into isolation, Mia learned to lean on the network of support surrounding her. Counseling sessions remained a vital resource, providing a safe space to process lingering pain and cultivate resilience. Financial stability remained a pressing concern. The ranch's programs offered job training and assistance with housing, and Mia worked diligently to build a foundation for her family's future. Each step forward was hard-won, marked by setbacks and small victories alike. Yet, with every challenge faced and overcome, Mia's confidence deepened. One crisp morning, Mia met with Grace and Elise to discuss her plans. Together, they mapped out a timeline for transitioning to independent living, identifying resources and support systems to ease the path. The prospect was both exciting and daunting, a new chapter promising freedom, tempered by responsibility. As autumn's colors deepened into winter's quiet hush, Mia found solace in the rhythms of the season. The ranch, cloaked in snow and silence, became a place of reflection and renewal. She spent evenings by the fire, journaling her journey and dreaming of the life she was building for herself and her daughter. Community celebrations marked milestones and fostered connection. During a winter gathering, Mia watched as children played beneath twinkling lights, their laughter a balm for weary hearts. She held her daughter close, grateful for the circle of support that had carried her from despair to hope. Mia understood that healing was a continual process, one that required courage, vulnerability, and the embrace of community. The ranch had given her more than shelter. It had given her a family, a purpose, and a future. As she looked toward the horizon, she carried with her the strength of the women who had walked this path before, and the determination to pave the way for those who would come after. In the quiet moments between the demands of motherhood and the pursuit of independence, Mia found a profound sense of belonging. The scars of her past remained, but they no longer defined her. Instead, they were threads woven into a tapestry of resilience, hope, and love that would shape the legacy she was determined to leave for her daughter. The morning light filtered softly through the window of Mia's small but cozy apartment, casting gentle patterns across the worn wooden floor. The space was modest, yet filled with warmth, a testament to the journey that had brought her here. Her daughter, nestled in a crib by the corner, slept peacefully, the steady rise and fall of her breath a quiet reminder of the fragile yet fierce life Mia now nurtured. Mia sat at the small kitchen table, a notebook open before her, its pages filled with careful, flowing script. The journal was a gift from Grace, a tangible link to the ranch and the community that had shaped her. Transformation. Each entry held memories, lessons, and hopes. A record of the path from despair to resilience, from isolation to belonging. She paused, pen hovering over the page, reflecting on the years that had passed. The city streets where she once wandered, lost and alone, seemed like a distant dream. The ranch had been a sanctuary, a place where she had found not only shelter but strength, where the bonds of sisterhood had woven a safety net beneath her feet. It was there she had learned to trust, to hope, to fight for a future she dared to believe in. Now, as a mother and a woman forged anew, Mia embraced her role with quiet determination. The apartment was more than a roof over their heads. It was a foundation for the life she was building, a life marked by perseverance, love, and purpose. She had secured a part-time job at a local community center, working with women and children who reminded her of the struggles she had overcome. The work was demanding but fulfilling, a way to give back to the community that had given her so much. Her days were a balancing act, nurturing her daughter, pursuing her own goals, and healing the wounds that still lingered beneath the surface. But Mia no longer faced these challenges alone. Friends from the ranch remained a vital part of her life, their support a steady presence through the uncertainties of motherhood and independence. One afternoon, Mia met with Elise at a nearby cafe, their conversation flowing easily as they discussed plans for the future. Together, they brainstormed ideas for expanding the community programs that had been so instrumental in Mia's healing. The vision was clear: to create spaces where women like Mia could find refuge, empowerment, and connection. As the seasons turned, Mia's confidence blossomed. She enrolled in evening classes to further her education, determined to build a career that would sustain her family and honor the resilience that had brought her this far. The journey was not without setbacks. There were moments of exhaustion, frustration, and doubt. But each challenge was met with the strength nurtured by years of perseverance. In the quiet moments at night, Mia often returned to her journal, capturing the nuances of daily life, the laughter of her daughter, the kindness of strangers, the small victories that stitched together a tapestry of hope. Writing became a sanctuary, a way to process the complexities of healing and growth. The apartment walls, once bare and unwelcoming, now bore the marks of a life reclaimed. Photographs of the ranch, of friends who had become family, hung alongside drawings and mementos from her daughter's earliest days. Each item told a story of survival and renewal, a testament to the power of environment and support in shaping destiny. Mia's relationship with her past evolved into one of acceptance and strength. The scars remained, but they no longer defined her. Instead, they were threads woven into the fabric of her identity, a reminder of battles fought and won, of the unwavering spirit that refused to be broken. One crisp autumn evening, Mia stood on the balcony, the cool air brushing against her skin as she watched the sunset paint the sky in hues of orange and purple. Her daughter laughed softly in her arms, reaching out to touch the fading light. In that moment, Mia felt a profound sense of peace and purpose. She knew the journey ahead would continue to hold challenges, but she faced them with a heart fortified by love and community. The legacy she was crafting was not just for herself, but for her daughter and the generations of women who would follow. With a deep breath, Mia closed her journal, the pages a testament to transformation and hope. The future was unwritten, a canvas waiting to be filled with the stories yet to come. And as the stars emerged in the night sky, she embraced the promise of new beginnings, ready to write the next chapter of her life with courage and grace.